welcome to MaeCast. I've got a co-interview with me here today. Will?
Hello, everybody. I'm Will. Thank you for having me on, Meg. Looking forward to taking part in this interview.
And then with us, we have Scribble Victory. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
You go first, Tom.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hi, Will. Hi, mate. Hi, all viewers. My name's Tom. I form part of Scribble Victory, so I play the drums and I sing. And I'll pass you on to my friend and colleague, Jamie.
Colleague. Come on, you. So I'm Jamie. I play guitar and I sing. And and carry this guy. So it's...
How do you feel about the fact that he just said he carries you?
He's not wrong, to be fair. He's not wrong.
I've seen you guys at gigs. I know how it works.
Hey, don't agree with him. Don't agree with him.
So you formed in 2013 as part of a university project, but how did you go from just the university project to where you are today? Do you have what's the story leading up to your first releases and gigs?
Okay.
You create a process.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was purely just a love of wanting to write original music, and I've been in bands previously, so I guess I started it. I've been in bands previously. I had a load of ideas that I wanted to get down on paper, and I'd never thought about doing a solo project or anything like that. So, and I didn't really like the idea of doing a solo project. I always liked being in a collaborative sort of project with different people bringing different bits to the table. So, so how it really started was I had an idea. I had like a load of songs that I did for a university project. A mate came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, you've got to get those out and you've got to play them live." So we started doing that, and we had about 4 people on our first gig. Tom was playing like a drum machine and all sorts. And it was a little bit weird and a bit wonderful, but ultimately it didn't work. So we then went back to a 3-piece with a bass player, and that kind of didn't work because the bass player, he had other commitments going on. He wanted to pursue his own music, so it just left me and Tom. We kind of just left it for a little bit, and then we just figured, oh, can we make this work as a duo? Because having a restricted amount of people and limited instruments breeds creativity. So we thought, well, maybe less is more, and we just started pushing it, and it just kind of, we started getting some really good feedbacks, and that spurs you on. Then we thought, well, how far can we push this? And it's been going well for us so far. We've started branching out into open mics, and we decided that we were going to play open mics at opposite ends of the country whilst we were still holding down jobs. I think the craziest one we did was we drove down to Deptford in South London on a Thursday night, straight after work, and then ended up sort of coming back the next morning at about 2:00, getting caught in M1 roadworks, and then still managing to do a day, albeit tired, the next day at work. So it started, it was just a bit of an addiction of where could we play, how far could we push this, and yeah, that's kind of the story of how we've gone. So I don't know if Tom wants to add anything.
Yeah, you're right. Really, it was a case of just doing it out of, like I say, the love of it initially, and then we, as you said, Jamie, sort of started getting decent-ish feedback from people, and then we just wanted to please ourselves, really, initially. And I really enjoyed the stuff that Jamie was writing for his university project. That was really creative. And then since then, it's kind of turned into almost like trying to push boundaries as much as we possibly can with what we've got, which isn't much. It's just an acoustic guitar like I say, it's not even a full drum kit. It's just a little bits, really, a floor tom and a snare, and obviously 2 vocals, and seeing how far we can take it. And it's been a good ride so far, I'd say.
Yeah. Obviously, you have a lot of what you do is focused on like live gigs, as you just mentioned, open mics. How obviously a lot of those weren't exactly going on last year. So how did that impact you guys?
All right, quite a lot, to be honest. I mean, we at one point, probably before this all kicked off, we were doing sometimes 3, 4, 5 gigs in a weekend, because we've still got full-time jobs. so we usually just finish our jobs, and then just the weekend it was just rammed full of gigs, really, you know. And since this has all sort of started, and you know, things have closed and everything like that, we've not really been able to practice, let alone gig. So we went from sort of on average a year about, say, 100, 120 gigs a year, down to probably, I think last year we did about 8, and that was at the start of the year, so January to March, and then had obviously nothing really since. And even now we've not had, well, obviously not anything. Luckily we're starting to get bookings through again towards the end of the year, so like New Year's Eve and sort of in December, and a couple of weddings and things. But aside from that, we've not really been able to even practice properly. We've not really mastered I think there's applications on the internet where you can kind of practice online and stuff like that, but we never really done that. It's kind of we did practice a little bit when sort of lockdown eased in summertime, but since then, really, we're kind of out of practice, really, which is really hard, because it's not just the fact that we both obviously love writing and creating music. It's the fact that we don't really get to actually spend time with each other as well, and we're best mates as well, you know. So that's really difficult as well, not being able to actually see your best mate and go for a hug or whatever, just have a chat about stuff. I mean, we obviously talk quite a lot, but sometimes it's just not the same when you don't get to see someone in person, is it really?
I hope you don't mind me saying, guys, but obviously I love Scribble Victory, and for quite a few years now I've been keeping up with gigs and stuff. You are quite a live band. You know, you've done a lot of recordings, but I feel you thrive off an audience, and you thrive off that energy, because it's quite fast paced and I guess quite high octane. But that must have been hard. Have you thought maybe about adapting more to a record sound, you know, where you make more songs that you can listen to online or buy or whatever? Or do you completely disagree? Do you think that, you know, it's as easy to do recorded stuff as it is to do live?
To be honest, we did start dabbling, and we bought some gear, and as Tom said, when we were sort of practicing, we were dabbling in doing our own recordings and stuff. And I guess, I mean, I did music production at university, and I've never really used it, to be honest. So it's kind of, you do start to adapt where you want to go. We towards the back end of sort of 2019, even up to probably about a year ago, we were doing a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of vlogs and stuff like that, and we were really getting into that. So there's all sorts of different mediums that we, because I guess Scribble Victory is for us, it's more, it's music is just one part of it, and we're attention seekers, mate, basically, and we love being on. We love doing stuff like this. We love putting ourselves out there, and to a certain extent, we don't really mind what medium that comes in. Music obviously is the primary thing, but it's not the be all and end all. There's stuff that we've been discussing, like maybe we could start up a Twitch channel, just playing games, you know. And it's one bit of feedback we had was that people said that they like our personalities live, you know, which is a really nice thing. So maybe that could transgress into another medium of, you know, playing some retro games or something like that, or even doing something. I mean, there's a band called Raised by Owls. I don't know if you guys have heard of those guys, but they do some really funny stuff. They break that fourth wall and they do funny videos, and I think that's a really good thing, because they get noticed not just for the music, but just their sense of humor and stuff. And I think there's a lot to be said for that now. I think bands have got to be a little bit more creative. I think music only gets them so far. I mean, I'm not criticizing bands that just want to do music, and music is an honorable thing just to pursue by itself. But for us, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more than that. It's sort of beyond the stage. So, as much as you said, yeah, we love playing live and we love having an audience. So from that perspective, whatever medium that comes in, we're exploring different avenues of where we can really go. Because I mean, even though we're in lockdown and that's going to end at some point, we don't know when gigs are going to start up again. We don't know when things are going to sort of return back to normal, if things will ever return back to normal to a certain extent. So it's about, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of bands that are doing that whole, playing on YouTube and all that sort of stuff, and setting up YouTube channels and Twitch channels and doing TikTok videos and all that sort of medium. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and I think bands are sort of reaching out into the echelons of the further internet to try and get a little bit of exposure to help them out, and that's something we're definitely considering. But I think even more than music, I think Scribble Victory, dare I say it, as a bit more of a brand, I guess. Making Scribble Victory the umbrella. It's not just about music. I think that's something that we'd quite like to explore, certainly in the very near future. And like I say, we've already started discussing what we can do to get the ball rolling on that.
Well, funnily enough, I'm watching a guy on YouTube, no word of a lie, currently just before this started, doing a jigsaw, and he's been doing it for about 7 hours of a jigsaw of Noel Edmonds and Mr. Blobby. And it's like, it's just stupid stuff like that. It's just literally just him on his own, but he's got a great personality. It's just funny to watch, and it's obviously you wouldn't watch that all the time, but it's like for a charity thing. But there's, as Jamie said, there's so many different things that we'd certainly like to explore. Give it a go. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, we'll potentially try something else.
So you mentioned obviously playing retro games on Twitch there. What sort of games do you think you'd be playing? Like some of the more well-known ones, like the big names like Mario, or would you just go really obscure retro games? E.T. on the Atari.
We already know what we'd play. We've already discussed it. So the first one we'd play is Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, and it was such an it's one of those games that kind of brought us together as kids, I would say. And it's basically a point and click adventure. So it's quite dead chill, dead relaxed, very story kind of based, and there's a lot of puzzles in it and stuff like that. And we've both played it and both completed it, but I've certainly not played it for, probably 20 odd years, and it'd be great to sort of go back and just relive those memories and just have a bit of a laugh with it, because it's kind of relaxed and story based. We're not having to kind of be sort of on it all the time with something, say, like, I don't know, Mario Kart, where you kind of just really, really involved all the time, where we can just use that sort of downtime, just have a bit of a laugh about stuff as well, which should hopefully gets our personality across.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, probably Bishy Bashy Special. Now that was it's slightly more obscure, but it was a Japanese game that was released for the PlayStation. It's just basically just party games. I don't know whether you guys have heard of that, but it's basically just party games like Jump High for the Meat. That was one of the party games. That's the only one that really sticks in my head. You what? Sorry.
Uncle Launcher.
Uncle Launcher. Yeah, that was another one. Is that? It's that that weird and wonderful Japanese sense of humor that I really enjoyed. And I think as well, if we can get some sort of emulator for that and play that, it's basically just a button basher, but it was really, really fun.
Yeah. Just things that are kind of weird and wonderful, a little bit stupid, which is essentially, it's kind of like us in a nutshell, really. Emphasis on the stupid.
And the weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the best people always are a little bit.
Yeah,
True,
to be honest.
very true.
Those being like you said near future, you'd want to do this. What sort of like long-term plans do you have going into 2021 or just in general?
Good question. I think definitely more recordings. I think the next plan for us is probably demo a load of songs we've written in the bank. We've got about 6 songs that are unreleased, unrecorded so far that we've been sort of working on for, well, all the way through lockdown, really. So we need to sort of get those practiced up, and then we'd really like to record those initially, which then hopefully could potentially turn into an album. But we'd record it ourselves first, purely so we've got the demos for ourselves, and then eventually, once we're back to normal, we'd go into a studio and do a proper recording of an album. Hopefully, that's the next thing, and then getting back on the gigs. That's it, and then hopefully intertwining all of that. And when we do sort of delve into the kind of the more multimedia side, like the Twitch channel and obviously developing the YouTube channel, trying to kind of marry it all together so it's kind of seamless, I'd say.
Yeah, I quite like to get back into the. We had our first experience of busking on the Isle of Wight, which we've got a YouTube video for.
Yeah,
and we really enjoyed. Yeah, we really enjoyed that. I think we made about £13.80 busking. And we bought ourselves a couple of beers from our winnings. That was a really good experience. Just literally just setting up, because you don't need a busking license in the Isle of Wight. But I'd like to try that again. I'd like to try that. I really quite enjoyed that. It's such a weird thing when you're busking, because you've got to be a certain kind of person to do it. And I never thought that I was. So it's about sort of towards sort of the middle of last year, when lockdown was sort of eased up over the summer, but we didn't really have any goals. So it's really important for me to sort of like strive for something. So just pushing towards something and doing our first busking, or having our first busking experience, was a really important thing for us. So yeah, we went down that. I'd like to try that again. I'd like to try it a little bit closer to home as well. I think that'd be quite an interesting experience, because it's so nerve-wracking, because you think, oh, we're doing this completely unsolicited, and it's like we've got nothing to hide behind. You're like completely exposed. You've got no one, like an events organizer, ushering people away who might want to come up and steal your microphone or anything. It's completely unsolicited, and yeah, it's quite thrilling. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's something I'd like to pursue a little bit more, hopefully this year.
I guess finally, if you what do you have any pipeline dreams of this? If you had one thing you could do with Scribble Victory, no matter how big and ridiculous it is, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Really good question. I think for me, on the sensible end of it, would be to be able to do it full time. That would be the dream for me, to do not just playing music, but everything around it. So like your YouTube, your Twitch potentially. I'd love to be able to turn this into a full-time job. I'd love to. And survive off it. Well, not just survive, but, live relatively comfortably. That'd be my ultimate dream. I think with anything aside from that sort of like, bigger stuff, I'd love to, I don't know, headline Glastonbury potentially, or I don't know, something like that. Yeah, I think so. One of the biggest festivals in the world, and play even just play Glastonbury would be a dream. So and go on a proper tour around the world. I think that would be incredible. But I think they all kind of interlink, really. you know. So yeah, that'd be mine. I think that the sensible dream would be to, well, I say sensible, is to be able to, you know, live off what we love doing.
Yeah, I'd like to play America. So I'll just keep mine simple. Yeah, yeah. To live comfortably would be great. But I'd like to play America, and I'd like to play Europe. How possible that will be now, but yeah, to play in other countries, that'd be great. Just to see how our music translates into different cultures. Really, I think that'd be quite interesting to see. Mine was really boring. Sorry, Tom.
That's not boring. That's not boring at all, mate. That's not boring.
Yeah. Will, do you have anything to?
All I have to say is thank you very much, guys.
Hey, no worries. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
No, those questions are really cool. I really enjoyed answering those.
Yeah.
Not like your typical questions. They're really good. So yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you, Will. Really enjoyed that.
He's a star in the making. I'm
definitely
earmarking her right now.
Good luck for the future.